far as I can tell, there is no standard employment agreement for fire chiefs. But I've looked at over 20 contracts before I did this presentation, and there's a lot of commonality in all these contracts. And the purpose of this presentation is to talk about the commonality of these contracts. I recognize that you're not going to get everything I'm about to talk about, because it's just not possible. There's many reasons why you won't be able to negotiate these terms, but if you don't ask, you don't know. So what we're going to do is go through the chronological order of a standard employment agreement. I am not going to bore you, because lawyers are already boring enough, with the exact language that should be in the contract. What I'm going to talk about is some concepts that you should think about to protect yourself. So the first question, which is the obvious question, is, there you go. Why should you have an employment contract? My brother is a police chief in a small eastern Washington town, and I called him up to get some insight about how I should talk to a group of this size and about these issues. He's a public servant, and he said, well, I don't have one. I said, what? He said, yeah, we have a handshake agreement. It's an understanding. If something goes wrong, they'll take care of me. I said, you're crazy. If something goes wrong, all those understandings in the handshake agreement is going to go out the window. And they're going to turn around and say, what does the agreement say? What's the deal? And the deal is going to be what controls. So I understand on a daily basis your biggest concerns are, one, protecting the public and property, and two, protecting your team and yourself from injury. But today we want to talk about protecting you and your family. And that's the scope of this presentation. Now, most people are at will. Now, obviously, the rank and file are not at will. What does that mean, at will? That means I can fire you for any reason, at any time, even for a wrong reason, as long as it's not an unlawful reason. That means you have no protection. And when you serve at the pleasure of an executive, when the political winds change, your future changes, just like Mohammed was talking about. And the contract will be the backstop to ensure that when the political winds change, you'll be fine. So the key to the contract is really two things, and which we're going to cover today. Is one is clarity in what's expected out of you. If they say what they expect you to do and you know what your authority is, it's less likely to have a dispute later. And number two, of course, you want to be protected if circumstances change. Tax revenues plummet. We have a fire district in Seattle, in the south part of Seattle, where tax revenues have plummeted. As an impact of it, as a result of this, they've now asked the chief, or they did ask the chief, to take a pay cut. When you have a written agreement, you're protected from that type of negotiation. So the key here, one more slide, as I say, one more time to pound it in. The key is you have to have a contract if you want to be protected.